All right, folks, with this West 2 weather update, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tony Benolfi. Just wanted to give everybody a quick update with the 2 o'clock intermediate advisory, not a new cone, but the latest information that we have on Tropical Storm Ian. And there you go. You can see moving now to the west-northwest, starting to make that turn now at 12 miles an hour. Winds at 50 miles an hour around the center. You start to see a little bit of banding there as it's moving towards the west-northwest. Pressure slowly coming down. Last night at 11 o'clock, 1,002. Right now it is down to 1,001. We are expecting a nice little drop-off in that as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours. Let's continue the show here and kind of bring up just a couple more graphics for you guys. I wanted to show you the radar from the Caribbean here. It's going to pop up in just a second, and you can see there a few showers over San Juan. Rain starting to pick up already into the Havana area and the Florida Straits on the northern periphery of our developing storm system. So again, it's a process that we're going through. I'm going to show you the computer model data here in a second. One of the other things I like to show is the buoy data, and you can see the winds around it. Again, not too bad in Cuba just yet, but that is going to start to increase as we get deeper into the day today. As far as the satellite perspective is concerned right there, you can see trying to get organized, starting to get some banding going on in there. A recent wind gust on the southeast side of Cuba showing close to 30 to 40 mile an hour winds there over towards the Cayman Islands, 40 right there. Let's take a look at the water temperatures here. Incredibly warm, and that's one of the things that is going to help to really help this thing to explode. In fact, when you take a look at what's going on, there's the latest forecast. You can see going from a 50 mile an hour tropical storm to a Category 4 hurricane. A Category 4 hurricane by the time we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. And because of that, we have advisories up already. You can see hurricane warnings up from Havana on west, with watches just to the east of there. Hurricane warnings are up for the Cayman Islands right there. And as we take a look at the close-up here, I want to make a couple of points on the cone. Now notice what's going on. 8 a.m. Wednesday, the center point of the cone, and I'm going to show you the miles because there's a little bit of a tick back to the east, so there may be some adjustments coming with the 5 o'clock advisory that I want to update you on here in a second. From a Cat 4 Wednesday morning down to a Cat 2 Thursday morning. Why is that? What's causing that? There's a good reason for that. There's that front we've been talking about to the north. That's going to create a lot of wind shear. So that is at least helpful in one sense, that we'd be knocking down the winds as we get from Thursday on into Friday with a potential landfalling system if it were to take that center point track. The other concern though is, and I've got a graphic here. Let me. This is going to look weird for just 1 second. Just please bear with me. I'm going to load this in here for you. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to take this out. Give me 1 second. This should work now. Pardon my dust. This is going to drop in. All right, perfect. So this graphic is cool. Let me just go back to the short range cone. Check this out. So you've got Ian right there. 4, 2, and 1. That's the good news. The bad news, though, is the models are still, there's a pretty good range. And because of that, we have two scenarios. So the right arrow is more in line with the European computer model. That means it would make landfall sooner. It'd be a stronger storm, because remember, it wouldn't wind down until the northeastern Gulf. It would create more impacts, not only across South Florida, but here in the form of the risk for severe weather. We talk about this right front quadrant thing all the time. So that's going to be another thing that you're going to hear us start talking about as we go through the next couple of days. So just a heads up on that. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Now, if the GFS were to verify, and the trend, by the way, in the GFS is actually on the eastern side of the Big Bend. If that verifies, the storm would be weaker at landfall. It would arrive a little bit later at landfall up to the north and it may have, I don't know if it's going to have less impact. I still think it's going to have impact, but the winds would not be as significant. The severe threat may be not as significant. So that deviation of 150, 200 miles is huge. I'm going to load in one more. Hang on a second. Yeah, okay. Give me this. Hold on a second. All right, yeah. So let's get back to that front right quadrant with Ian, okay? This is another very, very important graphic. The threat gets higher if you're in that front right quadrant. Think of it as an L that goes along the cone center point and then back to the east. So your risk for tornadoes is much higher in that northeast quadrant because of the directional shear that's going to be going on there between the land and the flow above the land. Usually these tornadoes are weaker, but the other problem is because it's tropical in nature, a lot of times they're rain wrapped and you don't know what's going on until you're actually in it, and that's not the situation you want to be in. They are typically short-lived. So again, just some of the things we're starting to think about now. Now, let me do the models. I know a lot of you are interested in this. You take a look at the global models, and you can see two trends there. One over the Big Bend and then one back towards the I-4 corridor. Let me see if the 18Z compares in yet. Please be in, please be in. Okay, all right. So this was 2 runs ago. 1 run ago. So they've tightened up, and we're waiting on the 18Z. 18Z is not yet in, should be coming in any minute here. But you can see GFS right at or just east of the Big Bend, and then the European this morning was right on top of Tampa Bay. Last night it was north of it. Let me do these real quick here. Just bear with me. Sorry about going back and forth here, but I just wanted to. So here's the models. Northwest tip of Cuba. I mean, yesterday was in between Cuba and off the west coast there of Cuba. So now it's right there on the western side. You can see the camps there. One right at the Big Bend, the other along I-4. So the 3 right ones are more in line with the European. The other ones are more in line with the American GFS. Either way, and I got to make this explicitly clear, we're going to have impacts with either one of these scenarios. Now it's just a matter of figuring out what's the wind going to be like. Is that core going to stay just offshore, like the GFS, maybe brushing the west coast of Florida? Or is it going to be more like the Euro and the strongest winds come across and on into central Florida? So that's what we need to iron out. GFS versus Euro. You guys are big fans of this. I hear about it all the time. There's a look at the tandem. You can see right there the eye coming right into the Lake Sumter County line, weakening and moving up to the northeast. The GFS is just east of the Big Bend. So with that said, let's take a look at the forecast for tropical storm and hurricane force winds. See the yellow coming ashore there Wednesday, and the hurricane force just grazing the coast from Tampa all the way up towards the Big Bend with tropical storm force winds across South Georgia. So I'm going to wrap this up. I got a lot of graphics I need to update, but this kind of gives you the skinny on things here. Tropical storm Ian, Wednesday morning, tropical storm force winds. Wednesday evening into central Florida. Thursday morning up to the north. So again, that is your timeline for tropical storm force winds. You want to have completed all of your hurricane preps no later than Tuesday. Look at that right there. There's the GFS still offshore. There's the Euro right along the west coast coming into Tampa Bay. That GFS run is actually the older run. The new run would be just to the east of the Big Bend. So it has moved east by about 50 to 75 miles. Now, that's why I'm going to jump off here real quick and update these. I don't like showing too much data that's a little bit behind, but it does help to tell the story. And there's your probability now of tropical storm force winds. So 80 to 90% almost there from Tampa Bay back up towards the Big Bend. Let's see if the guys updated this. Again, flooding threats high, severe, tropical storm wind gusts, medium high. Storm surge for the east coast is low. Along the west coast, however, it is going to be incredibly high. So I'm going to wrap it up with this graphic. Your prep timeline, folks. Can't stress this enough. Please be diligent. Please get this going. Today, you're topping off your hurricane kit. Monday, you're working on your storm preps. You're finishing them on Tuesday. Wednesday, the path for the storm will certainly be finalized. As we get into Wednesday and Thursday, the storm is going to be here, and we're going to have impacts from south to north. All right, I got to jam here, make some more updates on other graphics, but I'm jumping back on tonight at 8, so don't forget that. You guys have a wonderful Sunday afternoon, and again, please keep checking back in for the very latest. Again, we're going to have impacts here. There's no doubt about that. Now it's just figuring out what those impacts are going to be. See ya.